up late, and then we had to change rooms at like 1 in the morning. Move all our suitcases.
Ours had no air conditioning.
The air conditioning didn't work. The guy came, the thing was out of the wall. Somebody had taken the wires out. And luckily, it was just next door, so we were able to, like, you know, walk back and forth.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a...
A waker-upper. You know, you wake till 2 or 3 after that.
What did you end up getting?
Right. It's perfect. All right.
Well, I got my first real instrument. You know, as a little kid, you play with whatever somebody has, a ukulele or a guitar, and you just strum on that. I got my first instrument, formal instrument, at 5½, and it was a half-size violin. And I started to play violin, and you know, some terrible, awful noises come out of that. The little kid trying to do the bow thing, but immediately attached myself to it. It became a means of whatever you are at that age, going through it. Like, it is music is emotional, and instruments are a way to, they're like a bridge to your emotions, to play them and get them out to people. And that became my bridge, except my first teacher was so classically oriented, the Royal Conservatory of Music, that everything had to be absolutely perfect. And I think I hit about the age of 10, and I said I wanted to quit. It was just too much. The guy was old-fashioned British music school, and you have to stand in this perfect posture while you're practicing and rehearsing. And if your elbow went down, he'd hit you with a long ruler, you know, up, because it's a Royal Conservatory thing. He wants his students to win. And I didn't think music should be about winning or competing with the kid before or after me, because we'd be waiting outside in this guy's house, you know, on Saturday morning for our lessons. We'd be waiting in the porch of the veranda, get to know the other kids before or after you. And to have to go and compete with them, like you've seen in these movies, the piano competitions, they're frightening you. I've got to beat you or I won't get the scholarship kind of thing, and my whole life will be wrecked. That was just seemed so unmusical for me. It was, it's one thing to get something out later and compete on the charts. That's the free market, you know what I mean? This was like little kids trying to develop an instrument and a love for it. And so I wanted to quit, and finally my mother said, I'll just get you a new teacher. And I got a teacher whose name was, I don't even remember, Iris Spencer. And she was cool. Those days in Winnipeg, this is where this all started, at the movie theaters, they would show, when you went out to the movies, this was a night out. They showed one movie, then they had an intermission, and they had like vaudeville, and then another movie. So when you went at, I don't know, 5:30 or 6 o'clock, you were there till 10 or 11. She led the band in the in-between movies. And they would be doing songs. It was like a 5 or 6 piece band. She played violin and led the band. And there'd be a juggler and somebody would sing, and meanwhile they're selling popcorn. It's like entertainment during selling their popcorn and ice cream. And then there'd be another movie. Or it'd be like a little short, one of those, the Phantom comes, you know, these little 20-minute things, then that, and then the real big movie. And she just said to me, what do you want to play? And that was an all-important thing for a teacher. Rather than imposing their will upon me, the Royal Conservatory thing, and playing these set of classical things that you must know, it's Brahms and Tchaikovsky and all this kind of stuff. It's, what do you want to play? And at that time on television, I used to watch, which was a thrill to watch, Don Messer's Jubilee. This is, I'm a little kid, and Tommy Hunter's show that had King Ganem. They would play not a violin, a fiddle, same thing, but a different name, a more happy, fun name, and people would dance. And 2-string, jigs and reels and all that stuff, and that's what I wanted to play. So she got me the Don Messer book of jigs and reels and hoedowns, and I would play that at a family function. Everyone would get up and dance, and that was like, whoa, because that was real emotion. People are up dancing. And that was really a big change for me. We noticed the same thing with our own daughter who had piano lessons. I noticed it with some of my other kids or grandkids. If they get the wrong teacher, it's like a politician. They impose their will upon the people, and they think it's right for the people, but it really isn't right. It's, what do you want? What can I do for you? And if I've ever taught anyone, it's, I'm not going to teach them my 100 greatest licks. It's, what do you want to learn? And if you say, the solo to Sunshine of Your Love, or, do you know what I mean, or the beginning to Hotel California, that's what I will work on to get you, and then I've got you hooked. And then what's the next thing you want to learn? Okay, will you learn one of my things? Because this is important. And then you can give them some foundation so they're just not playing and they don't even know what chords they're playing over or under. I think that's all important for a teacher. It's tough enough when your parent has a name that you have to kind of get up to that par, whether it's acting or painting or whatever, or politics or music. And he had to make his own way, and he really did. So I helped him in the early stages because I had the gear to do the home demos. And once we got to that point and he got the demo, it was time to hug him and say goodbye and good luck. And he went off to Maui and recorded with Bob Rock and did that first album of his. And that was really important to let him go. And he kind of felt, I'm sure, a little sad at that, and so did I, but it was a necessary thing for him to do. And then when I got invited to Maui, as they were about 3/4 of the way through the album, and they were just doing overdubs, he said, do you want to play guitar on a track? And that meant a lot to me, but it wasn't lead guitar. Me and him and Bob Rock were sitting around on She's So High on his baguette, playing all different kinds of acoustics with high strings, low strings, capos on to give it that full rhythm kind of guitar thing. And so that was really an important thing, but there's no credit on the album or anything. He just thought, do you know what I mean, as a token gesture to our past of getting him there to do it. So that was really great. Music stores were, as a kid, they're intimidating. The things cost so much that as a kid, it's like buying a car. I remember, but this is kind of silly, but this was a ritual. In Winnipeg, every Saturday, about 10:30, 11 in the morning, I would get on the bus, take the bus downtown. Winnipeg had a strip that was incredible. At one end, on Portage Avenue, at one end was the Bay, and 2 blocks away was Eaton's. So you'd walk in between, and everything all in between, and in between was several music stores. Winnipeg Piano or Winnipeg Musical Supply, Lowe's Music Store. And I would literally go there and do the tour of the music stores and go and look in the window and gaze at the guitars. At the orange Gretsch here and the blonde Gibson there and the Fender Stratocaster there. And right beside me would be Neil Young and Burton Cummings and Michael Hanford and all the other guys who were in later all the bands in the 60s. You would just go and gaze at this guitar because you had seen a picture of it earlier in the Hit Parader magazine of Chuck Berry with that guitar or Duane Eddy. You just went and dreamed about that guitar. And when you went in the music store, like I said, it was intimidating. Your allowance then was like $1 a week, or if you had a paper route. If you're a teenager, you're making like $1 a week, $2 a week, and you went in and this guitar was $400. So it was like, it was too much a reality shock to go in there. We would go and look at these guitars. And I'd go and meet them at this place in Hudson's Bay where we always had lunch at about 2 o'clock. Did you see the new orange Gretsch in Lowe's? No. Well, let's all go see it. And I'd go and see it again. And luckily to go in, they had corner windows, so you can go and look at it from the corner and see the side and back. And if you went in and asked to try it, if it was a really good day and they were in a good mood, they'd let you pick up the guitar and play it, which was incredible. And that became the focus. You then had a target on guitar. Then I went and babysat, mowed lawns, worked in the car wash, paper route, everything to get that $400 to buy that guitar, and I did buy that guitar. I always like a good deal. Like, I never go in and pay retail. Right. I'll get grounded if I do that. No, I'm still a sucker for a really nice guitar. Each one has its own way it speaks to you, and when you pick it up, you play certain things on it. A great fun time I had was with Gordie Johnson from Big Sugar, and he came to my house and studio, and where I have all my guitars. And we had microphones set up and tape machines going on a drum set. And he got a drummer. And then I have this big collection of guitars, any case that he took down, he opened it and he just kind of looked at it and, what do you want me to play? Like, what was the last song that's played? And you're pulling out a 1936 Gretsch Dobro or something, and he'd put on a bottleneck and picks and play this incredible blues thing in a blues tuning. And it's like that guitar was so happy that it had played a blues thing long ago. I had bought it, it's been in the case. And to take 4 or 5 out and record the tracks instantly, which is what we did, was really fun. And I've still got that tape, and so has he, and we listened to it for fun. It's not for release to anybody because it's not commercial, but it's let's continue playing the song you were just playing and open the case and see some cool old guitar. So it was really, it's a fun game to do. Right. But when I go into a new store, it's the same thing. You can look at the wall of guitars, go into Longham Equator, or any of these little smaller stores in Canada. You go into, or I love to go in the smaller towns because then you find guitars that just aren't cookie cutter, a zillion of a zillion. I want one out of a zillion. And you find you see an old guitar there that you've seen in an old photo of Barney Kessel or Elvis Presley or some guitar player, and it's there, and you're in Timmins, Ontario or something, and that really speaks to you. Because it's got a history. It's not brand new wood. It's things from the 40s or 50s kind of guitar. In the Guess Who, we did a television show in 1967, 68. It was called Let's Go, and then the following year was called Music Hop. And we were the house band, so we had to play our own music and hit parade music, and then there would be a musical guest on every week that we'd have to back up. And we did gigs on weekends. I had ordered a Rickenbacker guitar to be like George Harrison. They sent me the wrong guitar, but it was still very cool. And we played a lot of church dances in Winnipeg and community club dances, and one of these places had a very rickety stage. When you walked on it, it kind of creaked, so if you're on it and bouncing, playing, your microphone was going like this, hitting you in the face. And as I was doing that, I looked over and my amplifier was tilting, and I had playing a 12-string at the time. My 6-string was on the music stand, and I had playing a Garnet amp. It tipped over, the top rolled off, right onto the Rickenbacker guitar, snapped the neck in half. Now, talk about working at car washes and babysitting, delivering papers. I had done all that for this guitar, and it was just in tears. And then there was no thing that I knew of called a luthier. You had to go to a guy that made artificial limbs, who worked with, that kind of intricate thing, and say, can you fix this guitar? Winnipeg was just so remote then. I never even knew how to get to the Rickenbacker factory to send it back and say, put on a new neck. So I had to go to a pawn shop and get a couple of other guitars while this was being fixed by the artificial limb guy in Winnipeg. And one of the guitars I got was a Mosrite, or Mossrite, I'm not sure how to say it. And it had a very thin neck this way. The strings are very close together, and I used to playing violin where the strings are spaced, and I always liked my guitar strings that space. Had a hard time playing this guitar, so I never played it on the pre-records on the television show, but it was a cool blonde Mosrite. So I used it on the visuals, like when we were lip-syncing to the tracks, but singing live on TV, so we would record the music first. So I had this Mosrite, and then it had to go back, and somebody gave me another Mosrite that was blue sparkle. You couldn't see the blue sparkle because it was black and white TV, but the Mosrite had a cool, funny, upside-down shape. And I would use that just for the video portion of the show. So we got a gig in Nanaimo. Drove from Winnipeg to Nanaimo. Got to Nanaimo. We played in a little church basement. So the stage was that high, just these little wooden platforms. So the audience would come up, their head would be that high playing guitar. We're playing the first couple of songs, and a young kid walked in the door, and he had the brown case, the little brown case. Just like if you have the white case with a leather trim, it's a Gretsch 6120. He had the little brown case. I knew it was a Gibson. Came to the front of the stage, and I'm there playing this Mosrite, where the strings are like that high at the 12th fret. Can't even play above the A fret, the 5th fret, because the strings are just so high. Playing this thing where he's struggling through Shakin' All Over. It's like the first or second song of the night. And he opens the case, and it's a 59 Les Paul. And I'm looking at it, and he goes like this. And I go, yeah. And in the middle of the song, he hands me the guitar, and I hand him the Mosrite. And I tune this guitar up, and the band is looking, what are you doing? I stop playing, I hand it to him, plug it in, tune it up, and I finish playing the song. And I kind of go like to him, okay, and he says, yeah, so I played for the whole rest of the night. And this thing sings sweetly. It's just great. Had a Bigsby on it, which is very rare for that type of Les Paul. And it was the normal Sunburst, the Les Paul Sunburst. And at the end of the night, I went and was trading him back and said, thank you, that was incredible. And he kind of got very sad and he said, you mean you don't want to trade? I said, what, you brought that to trade? He said, I've seen you play, I don't want this old guitar. My uncle gave it to me. I want to play my guitar, so my uncle gave it to my dad, and my dad gave it to me. He doesn't want to buy me a guitar. He can't afford a guitar, but I don't want to play my uncle's old guitar. I wanted to play yours. I saw you play it on TV the last 2 weeks, so we were on every Thursday from Winnipeg. And I said, you want to trade that guitar for this guitar? And he said, yes. And I said, I don't think that's a fair trade. And I looked in my wallet, and everything I had on me was about $74 or $75. And I said, just a minute. And we were playing at church. I went and got the minister, Reverend, whoever. Reverend, thank you. And I said, I'm going to trade this guy. He wants to trade this guitar, but I'm going to give him some money. So can we write down here, I'm giving him the Mosrite serial number, and he's giving me this Les Paul serial number 9 space da-da-da-da-da. And I'm also giving him $76.41, everything that I actually have. And he said, okay. So we wrote that down. The minister signed it. It was on a little logo letterhead that said whatever the organization of the church was. They had a little club, a youth club. I took that guitar, took it back to Winnipeg, finished the next television series playing that guitar. That became the tone of American Woman in no time. My Guess Who, or my guitar tone. This guitar just sings. And growing up playing violin, I didn't really like the violin, it was too high and squawky. I liked the viola better, or the cello better. It was more mellow, more mid-rangey kind of thing. And that guitar had that mellow tone, and that became my American Woman solo kind of tone that they call the woman tone now. That doo-doo-doo, it's kind of like a woman kind of singing. And many, many, many years later, I got a communication, I think it was a fax, pre-email, from the guy's brother. Oh, no, from the guy. And he had grown up. Somebody had told him how insane that trade was, because then everybody knew what a 59 Les Paul was, a burst with a factory Bigsby, which is very, very rare. Apparently they had 3 with factory Bigsbys. And that was the sound of the American Woman. Doo-doo-doo. It's the Bigsby moving ever so slightly, plus my finger. So there's the up and down, but there's also the below, because when you're doing a hand vibrato, it's from pitch to up. But when you have a Bigsby, you can kind of go below pitch, so it's doo-doo-doo, that kind of thing. So it was very special to my solos on that and No Time and on that whole Guess Who album. And it was from an attorney. It was kind of challenging this trade from way back when, and I had to go through like years and years and years, because this is like 20 years later or something, or 30 years later, archives, and which I kept. And I found the original letter that the minister had signed saying, yeah, he witnessed this and I didn't take advantage of the deal. It was a great deal for me, but I'd given him all the money that I'd had. So we did a copy of that and sent it to this attorney who had sent us the letter, and he said, no contest. It was a legal thing. And then somebody called me from Vancouver Island, from Port Alice, which I had never heard of, way, way, way up north, Vancouver Island, where they said the sidewalks are still boardwalks. And I was talking to him about a Gretsch White Falcon that he had found. That's a great place to find guitars, is Vancouver Island, because these fishermen come into port and they need money, they trade a guitar. And he said, you might remember me, I'm the brother of the guy who traded you the Les Paul. So it was amazing.
Very cool.
And I still have the guitar today, and it's valued because of its provenance now. I'm playing American Woman and so many, the early Guess Who videos and stuff, at over $200,000, $250,000, US dollars.
From 76 bucks.
It's a very odd guitar. Most Les Pauls from that era are matched, split right down the middle on the top, and it's kind of the matching flame. This one is split at the top of the pickup, so it's split 1/3, 2/3. And I've had it explained to me by guitar experts that this was destined to be a gold top. Because if it was going to be finished natural with the sunburst, the join would have been in the middle, right up the center of the neck and the pickups and the bridge. This is at the top part, the joint is at the top. And they said this must have been destined to be a gold top to be finished, but the order must have come in for a burst, so they did kind of the red burst on it. And this is totally a one of a kind because of the seam and the matching, what is it called, a matchbook kind of thing is way off the side. So it's very cool. So it's all original. I put Bigsby's on it because the tuners then were very loose, and if you banged them, you always had a bad D and a bad G tuner because they had been bent when you banged them, so I put on Grovers myself. That guitar got stolen once, flying from Winnipeg to Minneapolis, because I was based in Winnipeg. So how do you lose a guitar? Like, there's no changing of airlines. How do you lose a guitar? Putting it on the plane in Winnipeg and getting off in Minneapolis, and we can't find your guitar. It's got to come on the next flight. It doesn't come on the next flight. We had gone to Minneapolis to do something. And I called the police. They came right to the airport. And I went, this was the next day, and I demanded my guitar. There's no way this can't come on Northwest Airlines from point A to point B with no stops and no transfers in between. Where's my guitar? And the police got the head of Northwest Baggage, and they said, we want to search your baggage section. And they found that guitar in the back, hidden under some suitcases and boxes, that somebody had taken it, put it away, that they were probably going to go and check a week later, and if it was still there, and I would have filled out my claim form and gotten insurance money. The insurance money you get for that guitar that becomes your main thing, the money is nothing. It's pretty much a slap in the face. And they brought the guitar out for me, and they never did find out which baggage guy had like opened it, looked at it, and kind of tucked it away so it wouldn't be found in his locker or somewhere. And the guitar came back to me, so I still got it. But you can't take it on the road. It becomes part of you, and then you have to leave it at home. Like you leave your wife and kids at home and everything you love. You got to get like a road guitar that's kind of a replica of that, you know. So That's why I like the reissues. I think a lot of guys like the reissues. It's like Elizabeth Taylor. The real jewels stay at home in the vault, and you wear the fake ones to the Grammys, or the Oscars. Well, I have three different kinds of music that I'm kind of involved with. I play classic rock with my own band and the Guess Who, and I use the Frank Gambale model of Yamaha, and they're really fantastic guitars. They just sing. They're really smooth, and they're kind of a replica in a way, but with a lot of changes of a Gibson SG. They're just a thicker body with better tone. And Frank Gambale is an incredible guitar player. Just got his video, which was done when he was very young, when he was known as the Thunder from Down Under. He's an Australian guy. This video of his is teaching me everything I ever wanted to know about guitar. Because when you go to see these young guitar players, like Yngwie Malmsteen or something, it's just all up and down the neck. There's these incredible runs and arpeggios. I have no idea what they're doing. I'm used to like country-based and blues-based and kind of jazz things. These are very classical, a lot of these runs. And the Frank Gambale thing demyths it all and is really helping me out. But anyways, I play his guitars. I got them in white, and they're just phenomenal guitars. So that's for my rocks thing. For Every Song Tells a Story, which is my acoustic storytelling thing, I use phenomenal Yamaha acoustics that are handmade, the Compass models, that have a cutaway, because a lot of my things, I'm playing previously electric songs on an acoustic, and I tell the stories behind it and play those guitars. They have just wonderful tone. Whether they're just plugged in or mic, they have great tone. And then for jazz, I play a big Yamaha white body, and they make a really cool blonde archtop. That's their jazz model that I've seen pictures of Martin Taylor, who's a great Scottish jazz guitar player, playing. And I play that. And I just got a Godin. That's their new Montreal model. That's their jazz model. Because for the jazz, I really need the jazz tone, which is a big, nice, mellow, below mid-range kind of tone. So I have the three kind of guitars, and each guitar I pick up puts me in that mood and mode to play that kind of music and those scales. Well, growing up in Winnipeg, my father was German, my mother was Ukrainian, and when they had these weddings, these parties, the people were going crazy. And they're playing polkas and kolomeykas. You know, you see these Russian kind of dances, Ukrainian dance. This is this fast polka kind of thing. It's faster than any. This is like speed metal. Do you know what I mean? For people from the Ukraine and you know, all those other countries, Poland and stuff. Just to see the wild abandon of these people dancing made me want to do it. So I didn't want to play the classical violin. I wanted to play those type of polkas and kolomeykas. Same beat as dance music these days. And just to play and see people go wild from what you were playing was really incredible. Then I kind of lost that. And then I saw Elvis on TV, with his first couple of times on TV. A friend of mine got the first, a Jewish friend of mine got, you know, I'm in a poor neighborhood, gets the first black and white 12-inch color TV on the block, and instantly the whole block are his friends. After school, it's going to watch Howdy Doody and Range Rider, and then as you grow up on Saturday, it's watching wrestling, Jackie Gleason, Ed Sullivan, and that's when I saw Elvis Presley on the Ed Sullivan Show. I went, wow, that's the same wild thing as the weddings and the weekends out in, you know, Dauphin, Manitoba, or in the edge of Winnipeg there. Reaction to the music, and there was Elvis doing Hound Dog or Don't Be Cruel, and basically doing all that movement as a singer. I was used to seeing the audience do that when you were playing. And I said, I want to play that. And they're saying this is the beginning of rock and roll. The radio stations at that time, in that 1 month period, basically flipped over and stopped playing a lot of country and started to play, because of Elvis on TV. Oh, here's this rock and roll. It's coming out of American Bandstand and Alan Freed and all that stuff, and it's Little Richard and it's Fats Domino and it's Chuck Berry and it's Elvis Presley. And suddenly the radio overnight changed. As a teenager, I'd go back to school and say to these kids, did you hear the radio at lunch? And everybody would just wait till 5 to 12, run home for lunch. And Winnipeg, because the schools were so far, you had an hour and a half for lunch from 12 to about 1:30. That's a lot of radio time. And so radio geared up at lunchtime and played rock and roll for the kids, and I ate it up. I just wanted that. I got a little guitar and learned how to play. Met Lenny Breau, who was a country picker. But once you can pick out Chet Atkins and Merle Travis off of an LP, you can pick out any rock and roll list. So I'd be taking him rock and roll stuff. Where do you put your fingers to play this? And he would show me, and because I could play by ear, my vocabulary on guitar rapidly expanded. He went into jazz, I joined the Guess Who.